So the first realization that I had after realizing that the expression, oh my God, refers to my daimon, my personal daimon, is that daimones in general are very well, we can call them gods. Okay. Um, so what is a daimon technically for Proclus, right? A daimon is a certain providence that is embodied in an immortal life. And this immortal life will have concrete instruments for it for it to exercise its influence in the world. So these concrete, I say concrete instrument because instead of body, because Proclus talks about what he terms astral or pneumatic bodies, but I find that confusing because they don't have mass, they can occupy the same space as other bodies, but they are still concrete, right? They have perceptible qualities. And they're individual. So in that sense, I think concrete is better than bodily, and they are organic, right? They're instruments. They're things that are in the service of this immortal life for it to have influence in the perceptible world, right? So is what, strictly speaking, a daimon is. It's an embodied, it's a providence that's embodied in the perceptible world, okay? And every providence is embodied through an immortal life because the providence itself is immutable. For it to be present and influential in the changing world, it has to have a life, a source of change, right? And it has many things that we, typically ascribe um, to gods. So, first of all, they're all knowing, right? Every providence for Proclus, it knows all things, but according to a certain perspective, right? So, my personal daimon will know all things according to the perspective of the life I chose, right? Or rather, the life that my immortal life chose for me, the life my life chose for me, or if you go on to the expression, the tautological expression, the existence, the individual mortal existence that my life chose, right? And so the model of this life, its pattern, it has to fit in with, of course, all the other lives and all the other patterns of things in this world. And so the this pattern, and as it were, the active providence of this pattern is connected with all the other patterns in the world, because otherwise the world would not be a whole. And in that way, the daimon is all knowing. And that is, of course, something that we ascribe to gods. Furthermore, however, this daimon, it has an immortal life. So it is changing. It has changing thoughts, changing knowledge, changing will, right? It's doing one thing, then doing another. And so this, again, we think of gods as acting in time, intervening, responding, for instance, to situations and prayers, and like now is the time to act, and so it acts. So daimons do that. Daimons also can be classified as good and evil, right? So Proclus will argue that evil daimonists aren't really evil. They are evil for us. Okay? So when I say for us, I mean for us conscious human beings, us egos, right? So the evil daimonists are those that they are responsible for a animal kind of life, a kind of life that is not our own, a kind of life that, for if we were to indulge in it, we would be acting against our pattern, and therefore we would be betraying ourselves, and we would be evil, right? And the diamond itself, it's not evil because that pattern also belongs in the world. So, like, there have to be wolves, but of course, for us, an agent that wants to turn us into a wolf is bad. But just the pattern of um, like and life is not in itself evil. That's the point that Proclus makes. However, they are, as it were, directed. They are providences that take care, that are expression of specific pattern in the world, so that they have a clear moral valence and they can even oppose each other. So for instance, my personal daimon, since I've chosen a human life, is opposed to the life that wants to produce wolves, right? And so there's a clear moral valence to Daimones. And that is something also that we talk about God. So God typically is good. God is good, and that is clear. And we mean that in a moral way nowadays, right? So there are questions about what agathos means in Greek, but nowadays when we speak English or Portuguese or any modern language, because of Christianity, especially, but also other factors, other monotheist religions, for instance, God is good. This has a clear moral valence, and so daimones and have this clear moral valence that we want gods to have, right? And we can even speculate about like evil gods. So we say, for instance, oh, like Manichaeism, they postulated a good god and an evil god. And so whatever the setting aside, you know, like this is a caricature and a stereotype and so on. Um, so this clear moral valence, this clear moral function is still part of what it means to be a god, even when we talk about evil ones. So, and the furthermore, of course, in our culture, when we say gods, we usually think, oh, that's something lesser because we're in a monotheistic world. We speak languages that were formed by Christianity and by Christians and by Christian use. And therefore, there's this tendency to monotheism, to think that ultimately all gods are one, or rather, the true God is one. And this is something that daimones share. So, since daimones are ultimately embodied providences, as I mentioned, one pattern of life or one pattern of being, it has to be coordinated with all the other patterns. Otherwise, chaos would result. So all of them are actually under providence itself for Proclus, nous itself, right? And so there is a sense in which there is God, right, um, uh, as the object of ultimate devotion, and as it were, the true meaning of Daimon. Daimon points to a single unity, right? So our monotheistic ideas um, about what God is are reflected in the concept of daimon for Proclus. Then, furthermore, daimonists are the immediate objects of prayer, right, and religion. So you find this in many texts. When you pray, for instance, in Iamblichus, you first address yourself to daimonis, right? So they're what's immediately there for you when you pray, and then maybe you will move from daimonis to other spiritual beings, and we'll get there later. What are these spiritual beings? Amongst them are theoi, which we would naturally call gods, right? But we'll get there. I think that once we start calling Daimonis gods, the whole thing becomes much clearer, and so we should find a different word for theoi. But that's for another video or another section. Okay. But anyway, so this is another way in which daimones are gods. They're the immediate objects of prayer, and they have a special mediating function. So in Plato's Symposium, most famously, he talks about how daimones are responsible for connecting everything in the world. And so they're what bring our prayers up to the theoi and bring the influences of the theoi back down to us. But they also, that they're, as it were, the binding strings of everything. So and for this reason, love is called in Plato's Symposium a great daimon, right? And so the daimon and he is, as it were, exemplary for daimonis because all of them have this mediating function, this binding function. And they are, as it were, the glue of the world. And again, we find it very natural to connect God with with unity and with synthesis and with binding the world. So again, Daimones as gods work very well this way. Okay. So in the next section, I'm going to talk about one consequence of this is that from for a theory of religion.